My name's Marinda Crowder.
I'm Christy Ottinger.
My name is Carolyn McLeany.
I'm Karen Hitchcock.
My exhibit is called Blade and Brush, and that refers to my scratch board, which is done with a blade, and my oil paintings, which are done with a brush.
And originally I was born in a very small town called Buchan in northeast Gippsland in Australia, and I now live in Limestone, Tennessee.
I'm from Tipton, Indiana originally, but I've lived in Tennessee most of my life. I consider Greenville, Tennessee my home.
And I'm from Bluff City.
And I'm from Elizabethton.
Well, I'm an acrylic fluid artist, and a lot of people today know that as paint pouring. It's not necessarily what it is, but that is one aspect of it.
Well, I started out in painting and sculpture, but as soon as I graduated from ETSU with the Master in Fine Arts, I decided I wanted to go back to fiber, which is my first love. So I'm a fiber artist exclusively now.
Mostly I paint in acrylics, landscapes, animals, flowers, just about anything that catches my attention.
I'm a glass artist. I do mosaics and pretty much anything and everything.
I've always done art. I pretty much will work with anything I can get my hands on. Oil painting, acrylic painting, watercolor painting, colored pencil, pen and ink, scratch board of course now.
Didn't really become involved with art itself until I was an adult. That was a massive influence for me, was creating gardens and texture and color and folding it all into itself. So from there, as I reached retirement, I decided that I did actually a couple of those wine and paint nights with some friends, and I thought, I'd like to do that. So I started playing around with, like everyone does, canvas and brushes, and was not doing very well. I found brushes very restrictive for me. And I saw a video online. I've not had any formal art background or teaching, but I saw a video online about paint pouring. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. I'd like to give that a try. But as I was contemplating it, I thought, I'd really like to do a landscape that way. But I didn't know how you quite did it, so I just put the canvas down, I mixed some paints and started pouring, and came up with my first landscape. We are so blessed here in this part of Tennessee. You wake up in the mornings and we've got the mountains and these incredible sunrises and gorgeous sunsets and cloud formations, and we're just surrounded by it, and that's always inspiring. So that's my biggest influence. There is something very special about Jonesboro and this whole area. I think Jules said it very well. It's like a vortex for creativity in this environment, and having the township of Jonesboro and the McKinney Center here to help support artists, both the oral artists and the writers and the painters, is very special, and I'm very grateful.
I machine piece and hand piece. I machine quilt and hand quilt, and also applique. Even the religious ones have a little, like the lion. He has sunglasses, but he was one of the lions from the Ishtar Gate in Babylon, ancient Babylon. There was a gate to ancient Babylon that was quite beautiful and had glazed tiles, and they had lions on them. And they're in Berlin now. This is basically what they look like without the sunglasses.
I have seriously been painting since 2012. Before that, I painted off and on with raising a family and everything. I just did it every now and then. Decided in second grade that was what I was going to do. Always, had intentions to really get into it, but never got a chance until I retired. I don't have a degree in art. I did take a few classes back in my 20s from John Maxwell, but other than that, it's totally self-taught.
I started at least 20 years ago, might be a little bit more. As far as my education, I I've been to Corning Glass Center for classes, to Alfred University for classes, and to Owatka School of Glass. Took courses there too. I do not have a formal degree, but if experience is anything, I've got a degree.
Yes.
I did not go to art school until I was 36. And I actually went to art school for computer animation. So I did go to art school at age 36, studied computer animation and photography. It was a great experience. I graduated from Ringling College of Art and Design.
Colors just sort of come to me. Sometimes I see the quilt finished, and that's great. I'll draw a little thumbnail sketch, and then I'll make a big quilt from that little tiny sketch. But the colors just come. I go into a quilt store and just start pulling fabric, and go into my stash and start pulling fabric to see what will come. And I like pattern against pattern. If the color is right, then the pattern will work with each other. The patterns will work with each other. I like the free hanging of the quilts. I think that's part of the quilts. People just beg to touch them, and of course you're not allowed to, but if it's a good quilt, it will beg you to touch it. I like for my quilts to go off the edge, whatever the concept is. Like this one, her feet hang down, and the edge of her skirt is the edge of the quilt. I do that quite a lot. Anything to make it more accessible to the viewer. And it's a story quilt. I like to do story quilts. Almost every one of them has a story of some description. Even the one behind me is a made-up story. It's Fauve in front of her quilt. Fauve means the wild beast, and in art history language. And she has won a prize for her quilt, and she's very happy, and she's waving at her friends. The gloves come from my husband's family. The handkerchief in the purse comes from my family. Part of the fabric came from a dress that I had, and just chop them up and sew them back together again. I've done remembrance quilts as well from people who have passed away, and taken their clothing and made memory quilts for people or for myself as well.
Sometimes I just go in my studio and just grab a couple of tubes of paint, colors that I like, and just go from there. Not much planning.
I get inspired mostly from nature. Sometimes just strange things come out of the head though. Yeah.
Color combinations.
Yes.
It's a big one.
It is.
I paint almost every day. I do, paintings on canvas, paintings on boxes, and I just go and start something. Don't really know what it might turn out to be. Don't really care, because you can always paint over it. It's just paint and canvas. I don't strive to try to please anyone, because that's like putting yourself in a box. So I just paint what I really like and feel, and hope that someone else likes it.
I'm in the studio most every day. If I go away for, say, a week or something, I'm itching to get back in there. And but when I do go away, I take a lot of pictures, and I bring them back, and sometimes I paint on glass. Other times I just form the glass with something called frit, which is crushed up glass. And it goes into the kiln. It's in there at least overnight. Sometimes, depending on what the piece is, it could be 2 to 3 days. It's something I love doing. I've always wanted to be an artist. After my kids went to college, my husband bought me a kiln for Christmas. And he said, the kids are gone, now it's your turn. And so now I tell him that this is his fault.
The substrate is like a hardboard, like a masonite board or a hardboard. And then there's a layer of clay, but the layer of clay is only about the thickness of a piece of paper. And then that's covered with black ink. And so it's really kind of an etching or it's a subtractive process. So you have to think in reverse, because instead of like when you're doing a pencil drawing, you're putting down more pencil to get darker. Here, you're taking away less. For me, when I started Scratchboard, I work with a lot of data, precision, and doing different things, you know, for the different companies. So for me to at the end of the day to sit down and work on Scratchboard, I can't think about anything else. My brain has to shut down and think about where I'm putting the next scratch, because you can't erase Scratchboard. So for me, it's a very Zen-like experience. I define success as an artist when people connect with my artwork. And I think the other time that I really feel successful as an artist is when I look back and I can see the improvement in my work.